following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Well, no, what I'm saying is someone's still going to win, and it might be if
I know
half the field, if just about half the field is playing badly, with golf, you can easily say, oh, the course must be hard. They're all playing bad. You know what I mean? It all kind of comes back to earth a little bit.
Sergio has been like, I can't wait to leave this place. Rah, 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 rah.
Yeah. Welcome. Another beautiful Tuesday here in the Northeast. This is Divots and Pivots. We are here to bring you the latest news, AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, and of course the random bullshit that hits our heads as we are live with you. We're just going to bring it to the screen as always, into your airwaves. First and foremost, Bud, as always, you look ready to talk. How are you?
Did you hear that the Earth's inner core stopped spinning?
So I saw that the other day, and I thought it was like just some clickbait, so I honestly didn't read it. But when I read the headline, that sounded pretty serious, if it is true.
It's the best line in journalism, if true. I'm gonna go with to science on this. This is USA Today, and
Okay.
Earth's inner core. This is 5 days ago. Earth's inner core stopped spinning. New study finds it may soon start turning in reverse. I read this a little bit earlier, and it said something about we still don't know what, if any, effect this is going to have on humans. I'm just curious if this kind of gravitational shift is going to affect my draw or my cut. I had a rough freaking weekend at the sim. I not only did I have to eat crow by forgetting to submit a lineup to you. I have to admit that out loud. I'm not even
sure if that was your fault or my fault or a glitch in DraftKings, because I don't know what happened, because I also
giving me
because I also thought that like our little one-on-one contest was set up, so that was just a shock
so
when I
too,
went in and said it wasn't there. So I think something weird happened.
Are we calling this week a
We're
mulligan?
just gonna call it a wash. I mean, I did cash 2 out of 3 lineups, but I'm not gonna hold that above you, because the one that I was gonna submit to you was the one that didn't cash out of the 3. So we'll call it a wash.
You're a gentleman. Yeah, I went up to the glorious Saco, Maine. If you haven't been to Saco, Maine, you are missing out. Actually, had one of the best breakfasts of my life. I'm one of those people. That's such a pretentious fucking way to open any sentence. I'm just going to keep it to me, not anybody else in this world. I love diners and breakfast joints. There's a place called Crossroads in Bethel, Maine, that is literally at the crossroads of nothing and nothing. But it's down the street from the campground where I met my roommate, and we kind of, whatever. There's that place. There is a place called Flying Biscuit down in Gainesville, Florida. It's part of a chain. I still like them, but if you see a Flying Biscuit, they're good. Here in Salem, Ugly Mug. It's pretty well known on the North Shore and kind of that area. Ugly Mug Diner, Salem, phenomenal. Add to the list Saco, Maine, New Moon Cafe. This place is a tiny hole in the wall ish, but it's got a really cute facade, or facade, as it's pronounced in one of the great movies of the 90s. But I went and had a little breakfast date with Cooper Rose. The wife and her sister went out and had a little spa treatment. So Cooper Rose and I had a breakfast date. She had a blueberry crepe, knocked it out real quick, and then immediately reached over to my plate and took half of my crab spinach Benny and just woofed it down. And the people next to us were looking, and I was looking. I'm like, she's 2.5, and she was nomming this crab and spinach Benedict with hollandaise everywhere running down her face.
She's just loving every second.
I'm a little concerned about her lack of F's. But she seemed to love it. Shouts to the crew at New Moon. They were really sweet. And so Saco, Maine, New Moon, that was the highlight. The low light was, forgot to turn in a lineup and then got my ass handed to me at the simulator once again. And so I have to tip my hat. Jordan, my brother-in-law, he has this little phrase that he likes to say, everybody's got their kryptonite. And as much as until I beat him, I have to admit he's right. I mean, I think I've lost like the last 3 times in a row we've played, maybe even 4.
Oh, shit.
And that's both with and without strokes. Like he's beat me straight up. Then in the sim, there were no strokes. His game's gotten really sharp. But yeah, shouts, tip of the hat. It was a good way to start off. I did pull it out. I didn't lose everything. I gutted out the back 9 to win the back 9 both match and stroke and save a little face, but just a little.
But it's some. It's better than a shutout.
I appreciate that. Some of my face is better than none. I appreciate that.
No, but
you did you call me two-faced?
Yeah. Just because the physical face qualities you were going for there.
Pebble Beach Pro-Am this week. We have another Pro-Am. We're excited about it. And this is the one that people actually kind of more associate with. I think the Desert Classic is more of an old school. That really is like old-timey Vegas and Dean Martin and the Rat Pack crew. This is much more Clint Eastwood in the new era, mostly because I think Clint Eastwood owns Pebble Beach or half of Pebble Beach or whatever. He's the chief. It's a cool, fun week for a couple reasons. We get another Pro-Am. We get another round of celebrities. This one gets a little more TV love. Bird associated with it, Ray Romano. We're going to go through the celebrity list in a little bit and talk about that. I always love going back to Pebble Beach because Jim Nance's house that's got the 3-scale replica of the par 3 7th at Pebble Beach. Yep. And in his backyard, and you can go there. He's got a plaque. Well, we can't go there, but when people go there, there's like a plaque there with who's made a hole in one. He's got the Masters music playing in the background. I find him just to be a super fascinating guy and an inspiration on several levels. And then, of course, Pebble Beach, the course itself. It's one of America's gems. It is it's one of the top courses that you can quote unquote play or get on if you can afford it and get out there. But it's not abusively long, and it's only one of 3. They're going to go to Spyglass, where they are going to get slapped around. Spyglass is up there with PGA West, where it is just awful. There was a U.S. Amateur back, or not too long ago. Is it 2019, 2018, somewhere in there? And the medal round play, which is stroke round, that's the tournament lingo for stroke round, is medal play as opposed to match play. The medal play average was something like 79. Was like the stroke average for the U.S. Amateur. That is nuts. That's like, Massacre at Winged Foot type numbers from the 70s. And so they'll get beat up over there, but then they get a reprieve with Monterey, which is much more of a resort-ish feel. It's still on the coast and still a tough course. And then, of course, they get 2 cracks at Pebble if they make the 54-hole cut. And Pebble is notorious for tiny greens and thick rough. And if there's any fog or wind, look out. So it's going to be, I think there's going to be definitely some low numbers. It's not going to be US Open style numbers out there on the West, but anytime they have to go play Spyglass, it's got 3 of the toughest holes on tour. It's going to be, I say pay attention to where your dudes are on what day. And this is a location where you need to pay attention to the weather. And full disclosure, haven't looked at the weather this week. I have no idea.
And I was actually just double checking.
Blind.
And I was actually just double checking. Have they not even released the tee times yet?
I thought you were going to say the weather.
No, I'm not even seeing the tee times. Wait, maybe I'm just looking the wrong. Yeah, tee times are not listed yet.
Well, that could be too, because we got movement here where Josh Allen is saying, sorry, Pro Bowl, can't do it. I'm a little banged up, but I'm gonna go out to Pebble. I don't hate on the guy for doing that. Listen, the Pro Bowl's a joke. Let's start there. All right. We are going to, anybody who tunes in for the fantasy advice and picks, we're going to get to that immediately after this one question. Yeah. Pro Bowl Manning cast.
And after a major announcement. So be waiting for that too.
Oh my God. You teaser, you. The Manning Pro Bowl, divot or pivot?
Any Pro Bowl. I forgot that's I'm pivoting on. I don't want any Pro Bowl. I think it's just. I think we've seen other players want nothing to do with them either. So I have no interest in watching or taking any part in it at all.
No, we're right back where we started, because
I found it more interesting when the players played dodgeball. What was that, like a year or two ago?
So I guess that's what they're doing. They're going to do like flag football and skills challenges.
So I'm fine with that stuff, but I'm still not going to be glued to it. Like, I'm still not sitting down to watch it, but if I have nothing else to do when it's on, or if I'm sitting in a bar and it's on, I'll pay attention. But I'm not going out of my way to watch any of the Pro Bowl. But I do think those things are more interesting than a game.
I wish they could find a way to incorporate kind of the draft combine into this instead of the Pro Bowl, because I agree. First of all, you've got guys who when I heard about flag football, my immediate thought was, how often do we hear about a non-contact injury in practice, and we're just like, oh man, non-contact injuries. I mean, there's probably guys who won't play with their kids on the beach until they're done playing because they don't want to tweak something. I mean, they are finely tuned athletes. They are the peak and creme de la creme. I wouldn't be shocked if they're, the way these guys are counting hits and snaps. If we just see it go away altogether, I would love to see, like I said, same prima donna-ish issues could come out with these guys in the draft. I don't want any more snaps or takes than I have to get.
We already see them bow out of bowl games and pivot on
the Pro Bowl. Bowl. Find something else to watch. I'm sure LPGA will be on that weekend. Tune into that, dude. Those ladies can play. I love the chirping between Max Homa and Danielle Kang. Even though we didn't get our shit together last weekend, Max Homa did. So if you didn't catch that, the California, I think I said it somewhere else, the California kid is California King. 4 of his 6 wins have come out there. And I'm going to go ahead and just say it now, whatever the price, I'm putting him in my lineup. I don't care leverage or anything. US Open, LA North Course. I'm going to put him in there. And if Stu Baby can get in the field somehow, I'm going to find a way to put Stu Hagstead, because that's his home course as well.
So one of the main things that I can't believe we missed last week, because we're usually all over it in a few times it happens. We missed a Keegan Bradley week. Like, how did we not catch that was coming? Because we always seem to catch it right the 3 or so times it happens a year.
He's like Webb Simpson to me. I think I'm just numb to him. I think I've been burnt too many times. Kisner's up there too. I think Kiz is going to. I think he's going to enjoy his hunting money and keep his card as long as he can. Maybe try to sneak in. I'd like to see Kiz as maybe a Ryder Cup pick later this year. If he's in form, so if he makes the FedEx Cup playoffs, if he's in the top 125, and B, because he's killer at match play, he's great for morale. I'm just going to be I don't think I'm alone on an island in the Kisner fan club. I mean, the guys love him, but I wouldn't mind seeing him as a captain's pick. Speaking of the Ryder Cup, did you see Nick Faldo's saucy comments about it?
I didn't actually. When did those come out?
Well, I mean, he's not on TV anymore, right? It's Trevor Immelman who's now in the booth. And so Faldo, they just flashed up his tweet, I say tweet. I guess that's now everybody's press releases, or instead of a press release, you have a tweet now. And he's put a tweet out there basically saying about the guys who went to live. See ya. Like, can you imagine if you left a company after 20 years to go to a competitor, your name's not going to be on the wall. Your picture's not going to be on the wall. We're not going to celebrate you. Like, bye. And that is where I do think, until Liv maybe has some more gravitas, R&A and PGA don't owe them anything in the Ryder Cup. Sorry, you did. You picked your poison. Go have it. I do agree with him there in his logic, because it is a business at the end of the day. Yeah. But I also understand empathy. We're all about empathy here on Divots and Pivots. I also understand that position of, isn't the game bigger than this? Like, can't we find a way to coexist? Because at every evolution of the game, we've had these, the PGA Tour's inception was a breakaway tour. So, I mean, let's not get bigger and, forget where we came from, a poor black child on the south side of Chicago. Right. All right. So back to the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. I'm in love with it. It's one of my favorites every year, again, because the celebrities. So here's my question for you.
Yes.
If you were going to play in the Pebble Beach Pro-Am this year, and you and I are tour pros all of a sudden, shouts to PXG. They really hooked us up. Although I think I'd be a TaylorMade guy. TaylorMade's announcing some really interesting signings, not just Nelly. Now they've got, I can't even remember the dude's name. Guy's got a ponytail and better calves than I do, which bothers me. They're just signing like YouTube golfers.
That's what Callaway's doing. I was just going to bring that up. That's exactly what Callaway just signed. Good. They just signed Bob Does Sports. Like they're doing the same exact thing.
Are we officially saying that Divots and Pivots is open for consideration? I mean, I would take I'd take like Tour Edge or whatever Bernard Longer is shilling on the Golf Channel.
These guys, but these YouTubers now they're getting their professional club fittings. They're getting hooked up with a custom set tailor made to them. Well, not tailor made, but you know what I mean.
This entire thing is about bringing product to eyeballs. And so I don't blame them. I think it's awesome. Kudos to you. Hopefully we'll see you at the table someday. But until then, in our hypothetical Pro-Am, who are you tapping from the celebrity world as your partner?
Look, I'm going to go with an easy, obvious fan favorite. There's no one else I'd want to play with other than Bill Murray.
God, I was going to say, if you pick him, I have to go somebody else. But I am going to say that's my 1A.
But it's too awesome. It's just too awesome.
What question? Because I mean, here's the thing too. I wouldn't be shocked if it's the kind of vibe where he ignores you, right? Like,
oh really?
You know what? No, follow me here. Follow me. Part of his shtick, because there's the legend, and it wasn't legend. It was like apparently how it was. Like, this is a guy who didn't have a cell phone, didn't have a voicemail. He had like a 1-800 number that you called. I'm serious. Like, look it up. These these myths about Bill Murray, and like, you had to call and like leave a message. He may or may never call you back. Like, he's been this elusive character forever, and I almost think that if some kind of nobody, if some Make-A-Wish or actually that's wildly morbid lottery, we entered a raffle and we won. We got to play in the Pro-Am
contest winner.
Right. I could see him given the full Bill Murray experience by like big timing you at first, maybe for a little while, until there was a moment where he got to bust your balls in front of, 50,000 people or whatever the TV audience and live audiences, just to crack you and be like, lighten up. Like, we're out here to have fun. I would want it, right? Like, thank you, sir. May I have another? I would love, I second that. I don't know if he would be my 1A, because I already have that fantasy in my brain and now I just don't want it to be broken. I couldn't play with Josh Duhamel. Couldn't do that. He's too pretty of a man, although he's got a great personality. Steve Young, childhood hero. I would love to play with him. But then again, I also think that he's been chatted up about football so much, and I don't really care who he is as a person. He's just a great football player in my mind.
Okay, here's
probably totally nice guy.
Yeah. Here's another one. Then, I'd want to play with Tony Romo, because I want to know what the hell he's been smoking recently.
I'm looking for his name to see if he's there this year.
Is he even there this year? I'm not even sure. I don't think he's there.
I'm not seeing him on here. You know what? I like that, and I'm gonna steal that, because I would love to just. I'm a Tony Romo fan. Don't at me, bro. I just think I like the place that he holds in sports to be smart enough and engaging enough to the right people that he gets to piss off everybody who just hates him, because he's kind of.
Well, I also just love that you just used place and hold and somehow didn't reference his place holding career.
What do you mean? I used the words, didn't I? No, but also he is an incredible golfer. Like the guy goes and tries to qualify for the U.S. Open every year. He plays in these events. He'll be at Tahoe. He gets exemptions to things. And the only way to get better is to play with people better than you. So Tony Romo would be my choice, maybe followed closely by Jason Bateman. But that's just with the crew that they're showing as the 2023 celebrities. Bateman would probably just be funny, and I also think he'd be a good barometer for whether or not you suck as a human. Because I got a feeling he too. If you showed up and you tried to chirp him, or you tried to be cooler than you actually are, just be genuine, be yourself. I got a feeling he would put you in your place real quick. He's probably a super nice guy, but probably gonna be like, we're not going to do that here. We're not going to be douchey today. Okay, let's leave that.
And home. You're probably right. He would say it just calmly that too.
Hey, Andrew, we're out here to have a good time. Okay, let's just leave those comments in the bag where they belong, and focus on getting the ball down the fairway. All right, let's go.
Yeah, take some time while you look for your ball there and reset yourself.
All right, so we mentioned the courses, we mentioned the location, we mentioned the format, we mentioned the celebrities. You want to talk about some players real quick after the announcements?
Yes, after the announcements. So first off, the big announcement coming in here hot right now. There'll be some changes on the show here. Myself and
Hold on,
Bud
am I getting fired live?
I was just going to say myself and Bud are not going anywhere. But if you are used to finding us and listening to us and watching us here on the Divots and Pivots YouTube channel, in a few weeks after the Super Bowl, we are going to be making a change to broadcasting on the newly created and merged the Fantasy Corporation's YouTube channel. So you'll be able to find this show in a few weeks after the Super Bowl on that channel. So make sure you get over there and subscribe. I will make sure to actually put out a tweet with the link to that YouTube channel. I meant to put it in this description. It's not currently in the description. So look for it on Twitter. Make sure you get over there and subscribe. That will be our new TV broadcasting home. Other than that, you'll still be able to find us, our podcasts, and all the same things, Divots and Pivots, on all your podcast listening platforms. We are not leaving Belly Up Media. Belly Up Media is still also going to be our home. So that is the only change, is literally the YouTube aspect. We will not be using the Divots and Pivots YouTube channel anymore. So just make sure you look for that change. The Fantasy Corporation will be the new Tuesday live visual broadcast.
Well done, young man. Well
Thank
done.
you.
Did you practice that?
No.
It felt like it. No,
you or anybody listening should know that it's very obvious I don't practice shit.
All right. Well, while we're sharing here before we get on to real talk, thank you so much as always to Piper Golf, to Mahler Bros, repping the shirt, second ball All-American. Get them while they're hot, or just order them to print, because I think that's actually how it works. But no matter what, whether you're at Piper, Mahler Bros, use Div Piv on the promo, get a little love. Send us a little love. We appreciate that. My announcement is much more of a tease. And it's a story that we're going to be following. And to set it up real quick, the aforementioned brother-in-law who whipped my ass at golf this past weekend and is my kryptonite. I hate admitting that, but you got to eat crow when it's what you ordered, right? Which I do think that's gonna be my next tattoo, is a raven / crow. I'll get into that another time.
Yeah, I would definitely love to hear that story sometime. It'd be fantastic.
Oh, you're very nice for saying that. You know, they used to say when I was a child, Michael shares his thoughts. He likes to share his thoughts. So Jordan introduced me to his crew. He's from Calais, Maine. You have to Google it, and then you have to zoom in and realize it's on this side of the border of Canada. Like seriously, like half the town works for the CBP or Border Patrol, if I even got that acronym right. They're salt of the earth people. They are a wonderful, wonderful crew up there in Calais, and they've got a little course called the Croy, is what they call it for a nickname, St. Croix Country Club. And it's a small, short, windy little bitch of a course, because the greens are tiny and fast and on slopes. And unless you're a local and know the tips and tricks, it can slap you around a little bit. But anyway, there was a character I got paired up with out there at my brother-in-law's wedding a little while back, and for the tournament that we had. And his name was Kenny. And he was, again, in a town of the nicest human beings. This was the nicest human of them all. He was beloved by all. And unfortunately, he passed away in December. And really, golf held a special place in his heart. And so the boys from the Croy and Calais are going down to Orlando to celebrate Uncle Kenny, and they're going to let us follow them around a little bit and come on the show afterwards and tell us about their stories. And this is a crew of guys you're going to want to meet and hear about. They're fun. They love golf. They love life. And at the end of the day, we're going to get to share some fun stories about Uncle Kenny and the gentleman from Calais and the Croy. So look for that coming soon, both here on the show and on the written webs, where you're going to see both Andrew and myself here in the coming weeks. So that's the fun stuff coming up. We're 24 minutes in and we haven't talked about tier 10 yet.
So sorry.
One more thing. I actually, and this is both for you and for Uncle Kenny and for everybody else out there. We appreciate you and everything you do to keep this little dream alive.
You did not tell me to have a shot prep, so here's to my water.
Yeah, I take a shot on this show every week. That is
yeah, but you don't usually toast anything, so I wasn't ready for a formal toast in someone's name.
Well, you're going to hell.
I mean, that was already decided.
I was about to say for other reasons, right? I'll see you there.
For many reasons.
All right, on with the show. Let's talk about some golf. Who do we like? Who do we not like? And why? what are your key three going into this week? And once again, just to reset it, we're at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am out there on the peninsula. They're going to play Spyglass, which is going to slap around at 7,400 yards. It is one of the hardest courses they see. They get a crack at Pebble, and then they get which everybody knows about, and then they get a crack at Monterey Peninsula, which is a little bit easier. It's kind of more of a resort style course like we saw out in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Just as far as how hard it is for these guys, 54-hole cut. More of these slows, and this one's even slower than the Desert Classic. These rounds are like 6 hours TV because you got guys like Bill Murray out there doing their thing and yanking old ladies into the sand trap. So, that's the set. That's the stage. That's where we are. And that's what we're going to talk about. So looking at that, what do you like this week? What are you focusing on when you're making your calculations for the kids at home?
So there's not much has changed from last week. Strokes gained approach, strokes gained putting, strokes gained ball striking is still there. And honestly, par fours within the distance of 450 to 500 is still there as well. The biggest change for me, though, to really hone in on the approach shots and the accuracy is that I tightened up the proximity. Last week, we were looking for approach shots of 200 plus, given the way the course is laid out. This week, we are looking at having those approach shots be a lot shorter, between 100 and 125 yards on average. So that is that's the distance that is more prominent at this tournament than on tour average. So those are the five: ball striking, approach shots, putting 1 to 125 and 450 to 500. I will say putting is the one that if someone's off, low on putting on these, but it's the only thing they're really low at, it's the one that I'm willing to make a kind of a personal adjustment in my head, maybe factor in their recent results or their tournament history, because putting it's a nice kind of tiebreaker, but it is still very, streaky.
All right. I was just about to make a putt pun and say, why are you conceding putting as a variable if needs be?
Well, like I said, I think I just told you.
I know. Why do you have to answer the question? I had a great question set up. I agree with you on the putting. It is in my factors this week as it has become more and more popular because, quite frankly, I'm eating more crow. This is the theme of the week. I used to say putting is one of those things that who cares? You can catch lightning in a bottle. I disagree. If you're rolling the rock, that is where confidence sits. If everything is a gigantic hula hoop to you as a whole, it's kind of like as a basketball player. When that hoop looks that big, just give them the ball and get out of the way. So if you are rolling the rock like that, I think it is important. So, and I also have strokes gained approach in there. Really, actually, like I said, ball striking is what I use, which incorporates approach and tee to green. But the third, I was with you on proximity. I was saying this week is one of those. Pebble specifically is where you want to know who can throw darts from $125. And I think my calculations, I did 100. I think I did 125 to 150 is proximity is the range I took. I mean, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. My good old friend Keith Stewart, in a piece he wrote for Sports Illustrated, was using proximity 75 to 150 yards. So I was sitting there trying to splice hairs, I just thought about that for no other reason than I had to flip a coin. So pretty similar in my three as well. And just like we've talked about, I don't go much deeper than that because I don't know, I got other things going on. No, I also like to kind of go with my gut and some of these. And this is where gut speaks loudly too, because you see in the 10K range, Jordan Spieth, everybody knows Pebble's his place. He feels at home there. Everybody talked about when he was in a slump, always when they got back to Pebble, maybe is this going to be the spot? Is this going to be the spot? He's kind of synonymous with the way that Tiger is with Bay Hill or Torrey or some of those places where they're just super comfortable. Ironically enough, Pebble's another place that Tiger's super comfortable. So it's not a shock to see him up there. I will say though, in the 10K
especially
range,
the rest of the field too.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a star-studded field. It's not a huge purse. I don't think this is one of the elevated events. We don't get into that really until the Florida Swing. So it's not a shock to see Jordan up there. I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. I just think it's too much. I think it's too much capital. I mean, there's nobody in the 10K range that I would actually start, but I will say this for what it's worth. Victor Hovland, he whatever not priced out. He calculated to be number one in my model for what it's worth. But I don't think anybody in the 10K range. It's funny, man. I don't know what it would take for me to pony up 10K. It would have to be a kind of Tiger at Bay Hill scenario. But You tell me about your love or hate for the 10K this week.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you at all. It's for Jordan Spieth.
Well, I wasn't challenging you.
For Jordan Spieth, especially, 10-6, I think he's at, and he's still also projected just about the highest owned at around like 17%, 17.6%. So that's just a lose-lose situation for me there, because I don't think it's a guarantee. It's not like it's a guarantee that he's going to go out there and crush this tournament and win it. Given the field of this being not your top-notch field, considering who's out there, this is one of those where I'm really going to be looking at ownership, and I'm going to be trying to find the leverage, because I think this is a tournament that there's a lot of guys in all the price ranges that have a legitimate shot at winning. So I'm going to be playing I don't really want anything over 13% owned in this tournament this week. And that's going to be the main thing I'm looking at. Now, the one exception I am back and forth on making it for is Tom Hoge at 10K. He's the one exception. And I know he won it last year, and that's why he's popular. He's the same thing at 17%. He just has a track record even before that of doing well here. He's been playing good and decent. So his current form and run is what makes sense to me for it. But once again, because he's going to be the highest owned and he's third highest price, it might keep me off of him. But I will say he's the one exception I am back and forth considering.
Well, back some more, pivot away from the hoagie sandwich. No, I just think it's tough. And I am going to go off script and say it is tough to go back to back in this league.
Yeah.
I do. I just think there is some mental, it's so much of this freaking game is played upstairs. And I think we saw that last week with Sam Ryder. He was freaking man on fire. The joggers, he was letting the ankles fly. Phil Mickelson's firing off tweets, and then it just falls apart because who'd you have? You had Mr. Reliable coming right through there. Zen as can be. Max Homa fires a number, walks away with it, takes your girl, takes your beer, and says, make sure you wash my car while you wait. That's why I just think you're right to flirt with Tom Hoge, but stick to a salad instead.
So here's the guy that I will say that if I'm going to pivot off of Hoge, the guy I'm pivoting down to that I'm between him and this guy is Andrew Putnam. At 9,700, he's the guy that, because of the way he rolls the rock, he's in good form. He hasn't missed a cut in at least his last 5. It looks like. Once again, it might be more than that. But he finished 6th here last year, 55th the year before that, 38th the year before that. So he's in good form right now. He's had positive strokes gained since November of last year, and like I said, the way he putts, he ranks 4th in the field in putting. So. I'm here for that. And he's only 13% owned compared to 17 with Hoge. You love that? I'm here for that.
I need that on a beer koozie. I need that on a t-shirt.
I'm here for that. Yeah,
I'm here for that.
It's better than me saying I'd fuck with that. Because that's the phrase right now out there in the cult, just out in the world. Oh, I'd fuck with that. You never heard people say that?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
But I'm just
feel very alone here for a second.
Well, that's like when I heard that the kids were saying capping, and I'm like,
on that shit.
Seriously, dude, you can't just start making shit up and saying, "Oh, it means lying." We already have a word for that. We have words for this. Like, don't just start bananas.
Okay, real fast. We'll probably agree with this. My least favorite, slang abbreviated word ever, cray. You took out one letter and it didn't even change the syllables. Still the same amount of syllables. It's just cray.
But
oh no, it doesn't. It's still. It is. I guess it is one less syllable now that I say it. Then, but still, it's just dumb.
But what if she's cray?
She's crazy. That's it. I can still. That's crazy to me. Still works.
Do you think cray was created by crazy people? Because craziness is not limited to women.
Yes.
Geez, let's not get Me Too'd in our second season. But do you think it was created by somebody to make it sound cute? Like, oh, I'm not crazy. I'm just a little cray. It's like,
you know what? Probably. That sounds 100% right.
Yeah. Where the first time 2 dudes actually figured something out.
Yeah.
Andrew Putnam, until that name gets a little bit bigger, I think it's just too much of a vanilla flavor for me. When Seamus Power is sitting right there at 9,800. No, I love me some Seamus. He won it. Yeah, I think he won it last fall. He was clicking on all cylinders last year. He's treated me well. And you've got the weather connection. We're out on the peninsula, which if you ever go to San Francisco, every freaking local out in that area is going to tell you about the fact that it's on a peninsula. And then they're going to explain to you that a peninsula is a body of land surrounded by water on three. It's the most annoying thing in the world. But anyways, they have shitty weather sometimes, and they have shitty weather where Seamus is from. So shitty weather Seamus, I think, might deliver this week. He's playing well. He has a good history at this course. He's definitely been in the top 25 a handful of times before. So Seamus is where I am shamelessly planting my flag and building my foundation for my lineup this week.
No, I don't
And
mind
I
that.
like him in the 9K. Yeah, I know you
I
do.
could
You
see, yeah.
like that.
No, I you know what, I admittedly kind of just got tied up on other names. It's not that I forgot about Sheamus Power here, but I immediately kind of looked him over, I think. So
That's
I
what
don't,
happens. I start
I don't
talking
hate
about
that call
Seamus
at
and your
all.
pants are on the floor. All right. You know what? Who I do like in the 9K though, if I'm going to stay, Joel Damon, Damon, whatever you want to say. He's sitting there at 9K, and the only reason I say that is because obviously he could have been 8K just as easily, and that's where we're going. I'm not going to take him over. That dadgum right. Not going to take him over my boy Seamus. Like I said, I'm all in with Seamus this week.
Yeah.
But Joel Damon, don't sleep on him, especially if you get to that point where you're not sure. He's in good shape. And I also think there's some cosmic juju out there with Full Swing coming out in 2 weeks. I can't wait. I cannot freaking wait. But before that, we have to get through the 8K range. So tell me about your 8K
I was just to
dreams.
say, you beat me to the punch on Damon there, because he's in my lineup. He's one of my guys as well. So if you're listening to the show, that's a 2-for-2 special on Joel Damon. Get him in your lineup. If I had to bell to ring, I would ring a bell for you. Maybe we fly that in, get that going next week, but we'll figure out some sort of sounder alert. But Joel Damon, both of us like. So for all the same reasons you just said, his form, his everything. He excuse me, he finished 6th here last year as well. He hasn't missed the cut here ever, it looks like, at least back to 2017. I'm not sure how long he's been playing here professionally, but this is a course he's comfortable on.
That's about right.
I was going to say, that feels like it's probably about the right amount of years, right?
The bucket hat is newer to the tour.
Yes.
God, I didn't even mean to rhyme that. I'm so on fire tonight. I really, though, I think I got a name for you in the 8K range that you're going to like, and you're going to like for the right reasons. And it's cousin of Stewart, and it's Alex Smalley. So Alex Smalley.
I'm glad you brought him up, because I was so close to him too.
Well, he ranks 20. He ranks 20th in my model, which, let's be honest, I'm brilliant. But 8th in approach and top 30 in putting, and those two are the key for me this week. And on top of that, the boys in form. You know, he was T37 at the Farmers, T22 at the Amex. He did hit a cut at the Sony, but that was his first one out the gates after being T5, T4, T11. So he's in form. He's a no name. Save a couple bucks. He's not a no name. Alex Smalley. I think he's another. Is he this season's Smotherman?
For us, he might be. The show could have been sponsored by Smotherman last year.
We hit on Smotherman a couple times, and then we literally like acted like we were hitting on him a couple times. Probably should have tried to slide in those DMs. He might have come on the show.
You know what? He might have. But no, I do agree. Smalley makes a lot of sense for me too. He, just for balance and mathematical reasons, he didn't make it into my lineup, but he was in and out as I was building it. And if I play a few more GPPs, he will definitely be in some of them for sure. One other guy who since November last year has been all in the positives, up around your high teens of strokes gained total. So and even higher in this last month. So Alex Smalley, definitely someone worthwhile there. Another guy in the 8K range for me at 8,800, Thomas Dietrich, however I might be saying his last name wrong, but
truth gun to my head, he could walk in right now and say, "I'm Thomas Dietrich," and I'd be like, "Who the fuck is Thomas Dietrich?"
Yeah, what do you do? But he's a guy that I'm looking at too. And so this is where, hold on, I gotta expand my screen here.
Somebody out there is like, "Oh, golf show, and you don't know who this guy is?" No, I don't. There's like 500 pro golfers.
Yeah, and they don't all come out for every tournament. Give us a break. But I was gonna say that
we deserve no breaks. We deserve no breaks, no days off. Come on, man, you're in New England.
But Thomas Dietrich hasn't missed a cut in his last 5 appearances, including a second place finish in Bermuda. All the last 4 appearances, all top 40 finishes. Over 30 strokes gained total for the entire month of January. It looks okay. Over 25 plus strokes gained total for the entire month of January. A great putter, top 20 in putting, top 20 in power force, 450 to 500. So Thomas Detry is, for me, at 11% owned. 8,800 is a good play in that 8K range. Is there anyone else in the 8K range that you wanted to tackle?
Two things. A, I'm on the Detry train because he's from Brussels, and I have a small love affair with the town of Brussels. We'll tell story time later. Some guy, never mind. I'm not going to go down that road, but I do love Brussels. Been there a handful of times. It's a great place. Truth gun to your head. I want you to take a look at that 8K bracket, and you tell me there's definitely one more name that I'm not giving up on. He had a flash with he had a brush with a top finish recently, and I'm going to keep banging this
David
drum.
Lipsky, I know.
David Lipsky, come on down, 8,200. Form is everything, and I'm not saying it was like last week, but it was recent enough, and it fit my budget. Like, I really needed to make some room for Seamus Power when I was going through my stuff. I didn't know who I wanted to anchor with up top. I went through my 8, 7, and 6. I don't know if I found a 6 or not. Tune in to find out. But David Lipsky, I do think that he is a name that's flirted. He's kind of like, I'm not going to say he's a Cam Young, but his Cam Young is freaking good. Yeah. David Lipsky's very good, but I think he's up there enough, and he's been in the top of the leaderboard enough that if he catches lightning in a bottle, he'll win. But I don't need him to win. I just need him to keep being around for every weekend, and that's what he's pretty reliable at.
Yeah, Lipsky was someone who was popping for me as well, and I didn't put him in my lineup against you just because I knew you were going to, and I needed to have some spots that were different from you. So
he's my DK DK kryptonite.
So I'm letting you have David Lipsky, but I do agree he was someone I was taking a good long hard look at. So I was not surprised at all for you to be going there. I was tempted to go back to giving Ben Griffin and another shot. I was on him last week. And it worked out all right, but not as good as I thought. Was close to going back to him. He finished 31st last week, but I ultimately did not because of pricing. But he's someone else who I think could still have another good week. Ben Griffin, 8,600, but 17% projected ownership was another big reason why I stayed away. But the 7K range is juicy.
It is juicy. We're going to get into some juicy 7K, but I want to give another tip of the cap to the boys over at the boys and girls and theys and everybody else. How about this? Rewind.
Everyone. Just say everyone.
Thank you. Tip of the cap to everyone over at Fantasy National, because I was just in there. I was in my little Google Sheets, my little nerdonomics, and all I do is I go into Fantasy National. I build my little model. I copy and paste the results into a Google Sheets and get out of there because we share an account and I don't want you seeing my homework. And then I just now realized that when I was in my Google Sheets on my phone, the names are still hyperlinked me right back into Fantasy National so I can get into the player stats and the bios and everything like that, because my 7K guy, I couldn't remember why I picked him. And really, it was because he's top 10 in my model. And I was like, wait a minute, you're 7,600 and you're ranking 8th, 25th in strokes gained approach, 53rd in putting, 20th.
I think I know who you're going for.
Lanto Griffin, cousin of Ben.
No, we're on the same wavelength this week because he's someone I was also giving. I didn't go with him in the end, but he's someone I was giving a serious look to.
And he's a couple of reasons. A, I'm just trusting the science. And when I went down there and I saw he was in my top 10, and he's got a little bit of a pedigree to him. If you look at the other publications out there, I don't know if you read Golf Magazine or PGAtour.com or any of the other ones, and I'm just kidding. You do see his name popping up elsewhere. So when my science lines up with their science, that's science. And I'm going to give Lanto a shot this week. I do think that he's another one of those Lipsky types, and he was Lipsky before Lipsky, where is this a name? He also Lanto. Like, come on. That's one of those names. This guy was meant to be on a trophy somewhere. So
and he's flat. He's flashed before in past seasons. He's got a good run at this tournament specifically. 2 top 20s in the last, going back to 2018. He's played it 3 times since 2018. Every other year, it looks like. I wonder if why that is. He plays only on even years, it looks like here, but still, he's got a good pedigree here. Like you said, he had a good week last week, finishing T37. He did miss 3 cuts before that, but I I was on him because of his pedigree here. Does seem to be playing a little inconsistent now, which is a part of why I stayed away from him myself. 15% ownership for the risk of how he's playing at the moment wasn't lining up for me, but I get it.
You know why you get it? It's because this is where I'm going to sell you on something I've already sold myself on because I need that
Yes.
reassurance.
Yes.
That was a powerful burp. You're lucky I muted that. Because this environment, when they're playing in this is the kind of place where it could loosen you up.
Sure.
To get things clicking again. And like you said, he's got some. Listen to us. We sound great. I mean,
I know,
welcome to health in New England right about now. This is the kind of tournament where maybe the atmosphere loosens them up, and again, you've got everything around, things are clicking, you're familiar with it. So hopefully, and again, I'm trying to talk myself into my play because that is a lot of leverage for this little bit of money. But I think that's because the logic lines up. He plays well here. He checks all the right boxes. Right. He's not on form, but when you've got this level of familiarity in the right places, maybe it's the week. Then again, we're talking about splicing hairs. What is it, 156 fucking players? Come on.
Well, and for me in the 7K range, even more so, I know I've talked a lot about projected ownership today, but in the 7K range specifically this week, I'm going to be playing basically strictly off of ownership in this case because we already saw how heavy the ownership is at the top. Which means there's going to be a lot of guys dipping down into the 7K range to make it work mathematically. But like I said, there's enough guys in this range, I think, that have a legitimate shot of top 10s, top 5s, maybe even pushing for a win. It's just one of those tournaments. It's one of those weeks that if I can find the guy that is sub 10% owned, it's massive leverage, and I'm gonna go fishing for that. Now against you specifically, it's one-on-one. It doesn't really matter that much, but I'm talking GPP. Which is what the majority of people play. So
I thank you for bringing us back to the reasons people listen, which is like you said, GPP, not these head-to-head nonsense. Are you done with 7K? I have another 7K-er in my lineup.
I haven't even given you any of my 3 guys in the 7K range. I'll go rapid fire because we're running on time, but I'll go rapid fire here.
Let me give you my next one, then you counter. I've got Russell Knox in there because the guys from Scotland, shitty weather.
So.
There we go. And I think he ranks number 1 in my proximity.
Yeah.
Back to you in the studio.
Yeah, Knox was pretty high up for me as well. I think he ranked 3rd in my model. So Knox is a guy that I was putting in pretty quick into my lineup. Another guy that I put in there too is Joseph Bramlett. He ranked 5th in my model at 6% projected ownership. Finished T13 last week, T54, T54, T64, and then T9 in his last 5 tournaments. He did miss the cut here last year, but did make the cut 3 consecutive times the times before that. Although one of those I'm going all the way back to 2012, so I'm going to cross that one out. 2020, 2021, he made the cut here and missed last year. So Joseph Bramlett.
Joseph Bramlett. I looked at you as if you were speaking Sanskrit, and then I've heard the name before. But quick question for you, and you're talking a lot about leverage, a lot more than a normal human would. No, I'm just kidding. 54 hole cut. Talk to me about leverage. 54 hole cut. Do you care about ownership, knowing that you get that extra day? I can't wrap my brain around. Does it matter where the cut is, or is leverage? Because at the end of the day, this one field is all playing either a 2 or 3 day cut.
So when we had the 54 hole cut just a couple weeks ago, you're not wrong. It is for me a little less about ownership in that sense because everyone's going to get 3 days no matter what. So it's the points are going to spread out a bit. But in this case, because the field is the way it is, where there's no I believe the 2 weeks ago when we had that, it was a very star-studded field, studs everywhere that anybody could do anything. So it was easy. Like the ownership was already kind of naturally spread out, anyways. So it was going to matter less in that tournament for me. But in this tournament, I think we're already seeing the ownership is going to be in that upper 9 in the 10K range because those are the names that everyone knows. And then it kind of takes a fall off after that. And so things are going to stick to the big names, and then we need to find the leverage elsewhere to get the edge.
So the edge is going to be few and far between this week. It's going to be more important to find that maybe one or two like diamonds in the rough, because like you said, everybody's getting that one extra round with whatever's in front of them. You could have,
Correct.
I mean, because in theory, you could have a guy miss the cut. He could shoot 87 on round 2, which normally he's gone. But because of this week, he gets another round. He shoots 63, but still misses the cut, and you get that 63. So, okay.
Exactly. So someone like Grayson Sig.
God,
Grayson
what a
Sig.
good name. Hey,
Grayson Sig, 10% projected ownership. He's my third 7K guy.
You want to, all right. So there it is, folks. We'll get them back out there in other formats, both the social media channels, and starting probably next week, the Belly Up network of websites and written printed materials. I don't think they write anything, but it's definitely written and readable. Liv is about to be back. I panicked earlier because I was like, shit, are they starting this week? No, they announced their schedule this week, and I still have beef with them.
Not coming back to Boston. I know.
I'm really having a hard time coming to grips with this, because there's another layer to that, and I don't think Liv is going anywhere. I
don't think so either.
I definitely think it's here to stay. I think the format, I think everything is going to work. I think everybody's moved past the moral objections. I will say this, Mr. Norman, for all the shit I give him, he has a point when he points out how many, Fortune 500, 100, how many sponsors in the PGA Tour, how many of these other entities do business with the similar entities that he's doing business with. And he's like, we're really splicing hairs here. So when you take 3 steps back, thank you. When you take 3 steps back, I got pumped this week, man. I saw all the flooded, hey, our schedule's live. I still was pissed about not seeing us on there. I think they'll be back. I sent Hudson Swafford a direct message. I was like, hey, man, come back to Boston. But seriously, like, good luck this year.
He put out a statement about how excited he is for the upcoming season. I did see that, so he's pumped.
And this is where we can talk about last week. A live player is going to win a tournament that's not a live tournament. It wasn't just Patrick Reed. Ian Poulter was right there until he shit the bed at the end. And then I saw another social media guy on golf who has got a way bigger following than me. He made a good point about, I can't remember the name right now, but he made a good point about the sheer volume of Spanish speaking talent, quote unquote, is the way he put it, that is at live right now.
That's true.
I was talking this past weekend, up in Maine at the X Golf. They've got a dope ass simulator downtown Portland. If you're in the old, we should do a show from there. They'd probably hit us. They're a wonderful crew. Anyway, we were talking, and I was like, it's a global game, because it was very much is this really going to fly? Is this, that, or the other? And I realized I was talking to some folks who, not to sound like a snotty asshole, but are not golf fans. They're just sports fans. Right. And that's fine. I admit that. I'm like, do y'all follow golf? They're like, no. I'm like, honestly, I think it's going to live. No pun intended, because it is such a global game, and Greg Norman is such a global presence. And you look at the talent they're signing. I mean, they're going to let the PGA Tour have a stranglehold on the kind of Western half of the world. And I think they're just going to try to offer a different product wherever they can get it. And the team concept might catch, but I think it's going to be drowned out by TGL, because the Tiger Golf League, which I don't know if it actually sounds, it's Tomorrow Golf League. Come on, guys.
Yeah, Tomorrow
Tiger Golf League.
Tomorrow,
my ass. I mean, Matty Fitzpatrick, come on down. He's the next one.
He's the next one, yes.
And what'd you say last week? They're trying to get 12, 16. I should know. This is supposed to be my area of the show.
I don't think I did say anything about those numbers last week, so I'm not sure. But those numbers sound like they would make sense. So yes,
right. but that's where we're going to get our fill. Also, I love the format. Monday night, as soon as the Super Bowl's over, all right, Monday nights with Tiger and the gang. That's it. It'll be interesting. I do wonder if, even with these names, if virtual golf will translate. Because I'll tell you what, there are moments where I hit a ball into a screen and I feel like I'm Tiger. Because you get the flyover and everything. And and I also know that I'm like there are some differences in these simulators we play. I think it'll translate because they're picking the right people. They're picking the biggest freaking names in the world, which, let's be honest, it's an incestuous industry and everybody knows everybody. So you do have the PGA Tour along with TGL and TMR Sports and whoever else is in there. And I'm not saying that in a derogatory manner. I'm saying they know what they've got. They have an opportunity here to combat the whole team concept, but Liv's not going anywhere. I do think that the whole team thing is dope. Bubba Watson was out there talking about how even his kid, he's like, wait a minute, what do you mean you know who the aces are? Which is not even Bubba's team. Like, that's DJ's team. And he's like, even my kid's like, oh yeah, because of Dustin, because they win everything. And it's like, he's got a point. Winning sells. As Gordon Gekko said it, man. It was it Gordon? Greed is good. Like it.
Yeah. What was the name of that movie? That was
Stop. What do you mean? What is the name of that movie?
I know. I believe me. I've seen it a million times. I'm blanking on the
9.
Dude, 8, you put a gun to my head. Now I focus.
7,
Look, you just
6.
made someone with ADHD focus on you counting instead of what I was trying to figure out.
Don't turn into a victim. Don't turn into a victim because you can't remember Wall Street. It was Wall Street.
It was just called Wall Street. Okay.
It was just called Wall Street, not Wolf of Wall Street, which somebody the other day pointed out turned 10 years old.
Is it really that old? I guess it is, yeah.
Another truth gun to your head. Actually, this is not a truth gun. I'll put the safety back on. Yeah, sorry. Woo. There's a drug that Jordan Belfort's using in that. Do you know what it's called? Do you remember what it is? I do. It's called a Quaalude. Look it up.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah.
When I was in high school, everybody remember those TI-83 calculators?
Yes.
Do you remember that? Did you have games on your calculator?
Yes. Who did?
What games did you have?
I think it was just the Snake. I think that was the one I had.
Yes. Okay, so Snake was it. Okay, we had a drug dealing game. And so I don't know who started this. I don't even know where I got it. I just remember, like, come on, your buddy has it. It was like weird peer-to-peer crack. It's like, here, give me your hookup and I'll give you my games. And it was all about like dealing drugs. It was a math game. It was all about, and that's where I learned about Quaaludes. And then all of a sudden they came up again in Wolf of Wall Street because Jordan Belfort is famous. That's what he's doing. That's his drug of choice. Yeah. They don't even make them anymore. Apparently Quaaludes are like not manufactured. It's illegal, but there's like a limited supply on Earth. And so there you go. There's your educational value. Go Google Quaaludes and what is happening at the center of this Earth. Something weird is going on. I would say Bill Nye, but fuck Bill Nye, pardon my language. I want Neil deGrasse Tyson on this. I need Neil deGrasse Tyson to explain to me what may or may not happen to my golf game as a result of the Earth's core changing directions. And that's not a headline that should be muted.
Well, no, and I was hoping it was clickbait because my initial reaction when I read that headline was that doesn't sound
true
good
story.
At all. Like I was just like, this seems like the end. kind of scenario.
There are certain there are certain statements that have no context or no way of just saying like, oh, that well hold on just a second. Maybe if you think about it from this angle. All right, I'm going to repeat it. The Earth's core is stopping and reversing direction.
Which is just wild to think of that is even possible. Because you know what I'm thinking of now? I'm thinking of literally like a golf ball spinning rapidly fast when it lands, still moving forward, and then just slowly that fire spin back and then just zipping. Like that's what I'm picturing is that golf ball landing, going in one direction and like is it gonna happen that fast? Like is all of a sudden our climate's gonna change? Or
we might not have a show next week. I don't know. But if we do,
we might all just float. We all just might float off the earth.
It's funny you should mention that. I actually, when I used to commute into Boston from Salem, which city, USA, baby. And I used to take the commuter rail every day. I used to rip through books, nonstop. And I would read anything. And one of them was called What If? And it was just a series it was like a physicist explaining like what if statements. And one of them was, what if the earth just suddenly stopped moving? Like what would happen? The way, and I'm not going to try to recreate it here. The way he described it was so catastrophic and unimaginable that he did open with like, first of all, this isn't like
uses jettison.
Jettison. But it's something that's not even in the realm of possibility. And he was like, it's hard to even theorize something like this.
Yeah.
He's like, so we have to make certain assumptions. So assumption A, Patrick Reed is gonna win this year. I hate to say it, he's going to win.
What happens
Assumption.
first? He wins or he hits McElroy with a tee?
Well, he already did that. I will
Oh,
say
I didn't think he actually hit him. I thought he missed it. I thought he threw it at him and missed him.
Oh, who gives a rat's rear?
That's
He's
what
a
I was trying to
child.
No, I was trying to be. Damn it! You ruined it.
I did. I'm so sorry. I got distracted. Well, let's blame it on Patrick Reed. I got distracted about him. I'll never forgive him for wearing a choker. Let's just put it that way. I do think he's going to win. I think he's in form. Could you imagine if he won at Augusta? I mean, he's got a lifetime exemption.
I know.
And the way he's playing right now, and like there is that extra motivation. Whether or not his ball was stuck in a palm tree with binoculars and this, that, and that's like people up there who want to say Cincinnati lost because of the officiating. You know what? Both teams play under the same conditions. A call was made at the end of the day.
Call was made by, I think, a total of 3 different rules officials.
Right.
Like,
so
I think it was either 2 or 3. So like, it's not like he cheated. It's not like he just
Patrick Reed gives
without anyone knowing.
He gives us enough to give him pot shots about legitimately. Let's not let's not create everything.
He threw the tee at McElroy and then all eyes were on him. So anything that seemed a little fishy was going to be called out.
And I'm not going to lie, it's almost Dennis Rodman-ish how he's going to lean it. Well, you look at Rodman. Before he got to Chicago, he was just a hard-working rebounder.
Yeah.
He gets to Chicago, you get a little spotlight, and then all of a sudden you dye your hair, you put on a wedding dress, and you marry Madonna.
So
and
who's his
I'm
Jordan?
I was about to say, don't be surprised if Patrick Reed marries Madonna soon. Back to the regular schedule this week.
Yes.
Thursday, although I will say sometimes we get some fog delays and all that.
Very possible at Pebble, especially.
But it is a fun week. Tune in. If you like what you heard here, then get your head checked. But then make sure you like, subscribe, give us the reviews, do all the good things, ring the bell. And if you're not busy watching golf, I don't know.
Well, and just came across my phone before we sign off here. Local news, breaking news: BC Boston College basketball upsets the Clemson Tigers, who are ranked 20th in the nation, 62-54. So go Eagles, go!
Let's go!
And we didn't even mention, but I guess to bring us out here, Massachusetts now legalized sports betting. Today was the day you could start in-person legalized sports betting. Sometime in March is when the mobile apps will be allowed. So get out there if you are in the Massachusetts area. And if you like sports betting, remember, do it responsibly. Play only what you are comfortable losing.
And pay your bookies. If you've got bookies, pay them now. They're going to come collect. They know that you can go elsewhere for the action. You got to settle up while you can.
That's a fair point too, yes.
That's
a fair point. So Encore Boston is probably the biggest main one you can get to. But I know there's a bunch of other casinos. I think there's 3 total that went live today. I just forget all their names.
Does this mean also like online apps we can start placing bets? Because you know how
that's what starts. So when I said mobile, that's what starts sometime in March. They were separate licenses. So in-person licenses were separate from mobile app licenses.
So now we're gonna have the folks like driving down from like New Hampshire and Vermont to place bets.
Well, you've been able to place the bets in New Hampshire mobily and in person this whole time.
Don't talk to me like this. I don't know sports betting. I'm not a degenerate.
Yeah, people have been coming up to New Hampshire, like literally just over the border, parking in a parking lot and placing their bets. Now they don't have to. It's all right, open and free in Massachusetts now.
Land this plane before FAA kicks us off the route.
Let's land this plane. Thank you for joining us. As always, we will. Oh boy, we will.
God.
We will be continue to be here on the Divots and Pivots YouTube channel for a couple weeks leading up to the Super Bowl, but then after the Super Bowl, potentially immediately the week after, or the Tuesday after, I should say, could be our first week. If not that, then the week after will be our first week over on the Fantasy Corporation YouTube channel. So make sure to check that out. Medusa Brewing. Is that what you're showing me? Well, okay, Medusa Brewing
really
is what. But
had a shot of Knob Creek Maple and chased it with Medusa Brewing Laser Cat Double IPA.
All right.
I don't know. I'm worried about you.
Why? Okay. Okay. But yes, check us out there. Keep an eye out for the announcements of the specific date changes. But we'll make sure we get it out to you in all formats so you don't miss it. As always, thank you for joining us here on Divots and Pivots, and we will be back next week, 8 o'clock. See you
God,
then.
I hope.